the areas for growth in the game. He emphasized the need for better defensive strategies and improved movement, saying, and I quote, "We have to continue to improve, especially with the challenging match against Tunisia, who topped the Group C after an impressive 3-1 victory over the Ugandans." Of course, the Super Eagles aim to build on their previous performance while, of course, learning from the errors against, the Tanzania. Maiwa, we all saw that particular game against Tanzania. If there's anything actually, a lot of persons were actually feeling that game is the fact that, the Super Eagles, yes, we got the 3 points, but it was a very, very terrible performance. In fact, some persons even describe it as a lackluster performance. But of course, in the words of Winston Churchill, he said actually, to improve is to change, and of course, to perfect is to change constantly. The Super Eagles so far is yet to actually change from what we actually saw in the World Cup qualifiers. Maiwa, tell us exactly what we need to know. What is going to be the advantage for the Super Eagles going against, the Carthage Eagles of Tunisia? And how are we expected to turn the game around in our favor, come tomorrow?
Well, I'm in fact going ahead. You guys will say, what matters most is, as much as the performance was not good, we secured the 3 points, and that has put us, in a much more better position. It takes away the pressure from us going into the game against Tunisia. Imagine if we had lost that game or we have drew that game. We would have been under a whole lot of pressure, and playing against a Tunisian side that is much more better than the Tanzanian side would put us under a whole lot of pressure. However, going to that particular game, there are a few things we need to do. If you watch the game of the Tunisians, they ran ragged. They were able to dispatch the Ugandans very easily. Yes, a whole lot of people might say the Ugandans are not the, they're not the top guys in football, and the quality of the Ugandan side, you can't compare it to the quality of the Nigerian side. However, with the kind of quality of players that we have, you would expect that we would have done things differently. If you see how the big teams have played, they've been able to dispatch smaller opponents that are against them, and we have not been able to do that. However, going to that game tomorrow, there are a few things that need to change. First of all, Chelle needs to play our players in the actual position. That's number one. Number two, I think the defensive lineup, the likes of Osai Samuel and Zaidu Sanusi, there's a need for a change. I will not mind if I see Bruno Yemachi starting on the left-hand side. And probably maybe I would like to see Rian Alebiosu because of his accident playing for a Blackburn side. I would not want Aniwobi, to be played out of position. Yes, he was able to do a decent enough job in terms of playing the passes. However, he was restricted. We couldn't get the best of it because the game tomorrow, the battle will be in the midfield. And if you begin to play players out of position, I think we should end up midfield to the Tunisians, and that might spell disaster for us. What I'm suspecting is this: because of our frailties in the midfield, I'm suspecting, and the defense also, I'm suspecting Eric Chelle probably want to play, a two deep-seated midfielder, a two defensive midfielder to provide protection, then while sacrificing a bit of creativity, I'll be relying on more of the counters and our wingers to do the job and supply, and the floor. I'm suspecting that's what he wants to do. I do not agree with it, but I'm suspecting that's what Eric Chelle probably wants to do in that particular game.
Still talking about the game against, the upcoming game against the Carthage Eagles of Tunisia. There are reports that the Super Eagles will definitely be playing their game behind closed doors. And before I even go into that particular conversation, players like, Akwa Adams and, ex-international Sunday Ogochukwu have actually come out to, have, dissenting opinions about this particular game. Akwa Adams actually stood, strong right there behind his manager saying, hey, this man has what it takes. He's definitely going to help us tactically to actually overcome the Tunisians. Why, Ogochukwu Olise, former skipper of the Super Eagles, also said that this Super Eagles team does not look like a team, that is ready to actually line the big title. Of course, a couple of months ago, he was actually, one of the very strong vocal supporters of, this Super Eagles and Chelle. But after the game against Tanzania, he seemed to actually have, taken a very different opinion this time around. Now the Super Eagles have actually decided to actually move, into a private session to actually train behind closed doors. My wife, there's anything I've known over the years, when teams decide to actually train behind closed door, it tells me that, they are either not confident of themselves or, they don't really see themselves as, the big dog in this fight. My wife, help me understand if I'm actually wrong about this.
Well, I think what Eche is trying to do, and I will not fault him. Sometimes this is not the first time we've seen players, team call a closed session, meaning they do their training in a closed session. The reason for that, majority of the time, I don't think it has to do with confidence. It's more of, not letting people see exactly what they are planning out. Because, I mean, if you are doing an open session, somebody can literally sit down and scout exactly what you are doing and take notes, and that might be used against you. I think it's more of, taking them away from distractions. Probably there is a lot of distraction. That's number one. Number two, also trying to be mysterious, against the Moroccan side. And I mean, I will not blame Anako Adam. Eche has given me an opportunity to be able to be part of the team, to be able to play regularly. Definitely will come out to defend his coach. I mean, defending his coach, is a guarantee of him having a place in the national team. However, for the criticism of Olise, it is very correct. It seems Chelle does not know exactly, his winning team at the moment. We talked about the formation he used in that game against Tanzania, and we're wondering, why are you playing, Tanzania side when you know the quality of players we have? They are much more suited to a 4-3-3 formation. What he is not sure yet of what the right formation is. That's number one. Number two, he continues to play players out of position, and that is a strain on those players. You are playing them out of position and you expect them to perform, and that adds to the pressure of the performance on the field, because, I mean, they are representing Nigeria and the pressure of Nigerians are on their social. So these are the things that make people to doubt them. So for me, I think what Eche needs to do, what he needs to do is he needs to go back to the drawing board, look at how our players are flourishing, play them in the right position, and you will get the best out of them. Playing them out of position does not work, and it doesn't favor us. And that's the reason why, we continue to see this lackluster performance. How do you explain playing an Iwobi as, a deep-sitting midfielder? It doesn't work. Yes, it worked against Tanzania because they didn't have enough body in the midfield. But in the second half, when they came out, Iwobi struggled a bit, and that is because. So you need to look at the materials he has and deploy them, the way it's supposed to be deployed for the Super Eagles to do so well in the game against Tunisia.
So Maiwa, I mean, we've seen, a couple of games against the North Africans. The Super Eagles have played a lot of times against them. And for an average Nigerian fan who has actually been following football for at least 10 years, you know that North Africans comes with tricks, they come with antics, they are very slicky, and of course they bury their chances. Even if it's just one chance, they are not as wasteful as any other part of Africa when it comes to goal scoring opportunities. Now we are actually against this particular side, one of the very best in Africa, one of the very best or one of the strongest in that North African part of the country, the continent. Maiwa, you are Eric Chelle. I'm putting you on the spot now. How do you approach this game? Outside the fact that, yes, playing them in the right position is one thing that it should be done. Let's keep that aside. Let's talk about, now tactically and man management. How do you approach, a Tunisian side that seems like, they are unstoppable? I mean, they are a team that you don't want to actually play against, especially in the group stage of, any Afcon tournament.
Well, the first thing you need to do is playing the players in the position really matters. Look at the materials that you have. And the constant, battle with Chelle has always been him not using the materials he has properly. I'll give you a typical example. Look at Chukwueze. Look at Chukwueze in Fulham. Anytime Chukwueze plays in Fulham, you see how Marco Silva deploys him. Look at Iwobi in Fulham. Anytime Iwobi plays under Marco Silva, the thing is this: the players we have, and I'm focusing on the midfield now. The players we have, they have the quality. But the problem has always been, the way they are being deployed. If you deploy them the right way and they don't have a good game, yes, we complain. Definitely, an example of that is Osimhen. He was deployed the right way and didn't perform, and everybody, criticized him for that. However, other players are supposed to contribute, they're supposed to do the job, especially in the midfield. They are being played out of position. So the number one thing he needs to do correctly, if I were to be Chelle, play the players in the right place. That's number one. Number two, if you want to beat the Tunisians, our fullbacks, definitely there is a need for us to have mobile fullbacks. We cannot beat Tunisians without having mobile fullbacks. I'll take you back to the game against Egypt. One of the downside of that particular game, yes, a lot of people might say some new players were playing and the rest of that. one of the downside of that particular game was because our fullbacks were not mobile enough, and that is the reason why the Egyptians had a field day, especially on the wings with their attackers. That's why they had a field day. So, I mean, one of the things we need to do clearly is we need to have a mobile fullback. And at the moment, Anosai Samuel and, Ezedu Sanusi will not do that job for us. If we don't have a mobile fullback, what it does is this, it begins to add pressure on a Calvin Bassey and a Shemi Ajayi. In the last game, Calvin Bassey was practically covering for, Ezedu Sanusi. And how long will he do that against a Tunisian side that are well coordinated? So, first thing, play the midfielders in their particular role, in their appropriate role. Don't play them out of position. Then ensure that we have a mobile fullback. If we do that, it creates room for us. It creates a lot of body for us to work with in the midfield, and it starves, the Tunisians a lot of space. The moment you give them space to operate, we will be in trouble. So those are the things I would do if I were to be a Chelle.
All right, so Moyo, we're still talking about the Super Eagles, and of course, we'll look at the players individually. You mentioned a particular player in Ezedu Sanusi, and of course, very interestingly, Garba Lawal, former Super Eagles international, has also come up to actually address the criticism directed towards Ezedu Sanusi, and he actually talked about the goal that was considered in that match against Tanzania, arguing that singling out one player is not actually healthy for the team. He also said that Ezedu Sanusi's experience as a player of the Super Eagles, and of course, as 5 seasons in Porto speaks volume for himself, that the people should not actually attack him, that the guy actually did a very good job in that particular game, and no single player deserved to actually be singled out when a team had a very terrible showing. I'm asking you this directly. Tell me, does this defense of Garba Lawal, does it come with certain level of merit as an ex-international, or is there something that has to do with the quota system? A lot of persons are talking about Ezedu Sanusi being part of the team. Is that why Garba Lawal is actually towing that particular line to actually defend a man who comes from his own part of the country?
I'm just so surprised. I've met Garba Lawal a couple of times, and I'm disappointed with the comments. Does he have the same opinion about Osimhen? Everybody, has a speaker for Osimhen. Osimhen is one of our top performers in the national team, and everybody even said we are Osimhen FC, which is true. Osimhen does not play well, we don't score goals. And in that particular game against Tanzania, they were giving him chances, and he was missing the chances. This is somebody that performed so well for Nigerians, and Nigerians came out for him, which is actually the truth. If you're not doing well, your job as a player, you will be criticized. That's just the bottom line. If you know you can't face criticism, then don't play. If you are in the arena of performance, criticism comes with it. Ezedu Sanusi was very poor in that particular game, and this is the reason why it annoys me so much when we do this federal character of a thing. This is federal character speaking, and that's just the honest truth. That goal that was considered was a fault of Ezedu Sanusi, and that's just the honest truth. Every other player stepped up. He decided not to step up. They were playing a high line to keep the Tanzanians offside. It is very simple. When an attacker returns the ball back to in front of your 18, outside your 18, what you do as a defender, you step up. When you are stepping up, you are leaving the attacker alone. You are placing him in an offside position, and that is what they've been doing consistently. Every other person stepped up. Ezedu Sanusi was sleeping. Another thing that Calvin Bassey was practically helping Ezedu Sanusi out. Ezedu Sanusi, because he was not mobile, he was creating a whole lot of spaces, and not for only him. Also, Osai Samuel was doing it, but Osai Samuel was not as bad as Ezedu Sanusi. We should call a spade and not start hiding under the guise of this person and my guy. Now he come from my place, make I not criticize him. That's wrong. I'm really surprised that Garba Lawal is supporting him and just that. In that particular game, he played poorly, and he deserves the criticism. Am I for the fact that they should banish him for the national team? No. Players have a bad day. Osimhen had a bad day. Does that mean Osimhen is not a good striker? No. He had a bad day. Work on it. If the coach feels he has rectified whatever issue he had in the first game, if you place him in the second game and he gives a very good performance, everybody will come here and praise him. I'm disappointed with that comment from Garba Lawal, to be honest with you.
All right, so away from the Super Eagles story, let's move straight to the Afcon. Of course, earlier on, before we actually entered the show properly, we were talking about the goals that have been scored in this particular championship. and a lot has been happening. And two players actually have shown just why, they should be respected coming from Europe. I mean, Nicholas Jackson and Riyad Mahrez are currently leading the line for the golden boot of the 2025 African Cup of Nations, with both players having scored 2 goals in the competitions. This development highlights their significant contributions to their respective teams earlier in the tournament. Jackson showcased his talent by netting 2 goals during Senegal's 3-0 convincing victory over Botswana on Tuesday, while Riyad Mahrez, who actually we're talking about his game here live on the show because we're following that particular game, also got 2 goals. And of course, in that also, similar scoreline 3-0 against the Sudanese yesterday. And this brings Mahrez total to 36 goals for Algeria national team. In addition to his goals, Mahrez has made history by becoming Algeria's leading scorer in Afcon history with 8 goals in the tournament. He now ranks second on all-time all scorers list for Algeria, trailing only Islam Slimani. Both players have set a strong foundation in the golden race for the Algeria national team. Mayowa, look at this Algeria. They've had Algeria national team. They've had awesome players. We'll go back to the days of Rabah Maja. We'll go back to the days of Belloumi. I mean, Mahdi, the one who was injured in that, famous semi-final clash between Nigeria and Algeria in Maroc 88. You recall the guy the game that actually nicknamed our own Brighton Macaro 10-10. And they've had a lot of players. Now there's a certain Riyad Mahrez. Tell me exactly. I mean, you saw some of these guys, and you've seen Riyad Mahrez now. Is he the all-time greatest Algerian player ever?
Well, you not put the Riyad Mahrez over a Belloumi or Robert Manja. Riyad Mahrez is learning where Robert Manja and Belloumi is. However, the Algerian side, they've gone through a rebuild. We even saw Zidane, the son of Zidane. We even saw Zidane in that particular game. Zidane to all the Zidane family, all of them were there to watch the son play as number 1 for Algeria, and it was fantastic in that particular game. He ensured that he didn't concede any goal. So the Egyptian side, the Algerian side rather, they are rebuilding, and the rebuilding process is going. It's a mix of younger players and older players, and it comes with the experience. Remember Riyad Mahrez kicked us out of getting to the finals. They won, I think, about 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, with that last minute. Yeah, with that last minute free kick, and that led to Algeria winning that particular tournament. So, I mean, it's a leader in that particular team, and he led so well, scoring goals, dispatching teams. And, a lot of people might say there was a red card in that particular game that gave them a whole lot of advantage. However, you take anything away from the, Algerian side, the advice comes to a whole lot of experience. He has been there, done that. He has won everything that was my World Cup. And, he brought that experience yesterday. And we could see how the team is. They are one of the most dangerous teams in that particular tournament. And if the way they are going, I will not be surprised, if they get to the semi-finals with the way they are going. Kudos to Mahrez, 8 goals in the Nations Cup. Top scorer for Algeria, 36 goals so far. It shows the kind of quality he has brought. He has been part of the team for over 12 years now. And
Mayowa, but tell me exactly, where does Riyad Mahrez rank for you in the Algerian all-time player?
Well, definitely not above Robert Manja. If you follow Robert Manja very well, yes, he doesn't have the same success that Riyad Mahrez has in terms of winning Champions League and the rest of that. But to be honest with you, football right now is overrated. The football they played in the 80s and in the early 90s is way much difficult than what we have at the moment. So I would say, Riyad Mahrez comes, after a Belloumi. So it's going to be Robert Manja, Belloumi, and probably Riyad Mahrez.
Okay, Riyad Mahrez come third.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about the other man, Nicholas Jackson. The guy has actually endured a torrid time in Europe after his move from Villarreal to Chelsea. At some point, it was Chelsea's mainstay. He got a lot of stick, because of, the number of chances squandered for Chelsea. He was shipped to Bayern Munich, became the second striker behind, the evergreen Hurricane, and now he's in the Afcon with a bang, showing just why he's one of the best strikers, in Africa. I mean, let's talk about this guy. This guy seems to be a player who, situations around him never deters him. He just wants to keep going, just want to keep getting the result, just want to keep putting his name, in gold. I mean, let's talk about Nicholas Jackson.
Well, to be honest with you, I think he's trying to write his story. The game, the Senegalese game, it was a thorn in the flesh. If you look at the way he scored the second goal, the footwork was very, very fantastic. Taking two defenders, taking them out, and controlling the ball and scoring that particular goal. It shows he has an instinct of a striker. Yes, he has struggled, and he's trying to write his story. And this is a good platform for him to be able to do that. In that particular game, he gave a very, very good performance. He was very instrumental in that particular game. He could have he could have scored an hat-trick, but unfortunately, that was not to be. If not for the heroics of the goalkeeper, should have been able to score an hat-trick. But I'm really happy for him. I'm hoping this will boost his confidence, because you remember how he left Chelsea. He left Chelsea on the basis of him not having an opportunity to play. And even with Bayern Munich, it's a second fiddle to an Hurricane. Probably maybe this performance, puts him in better light with his company to give him more opportunity. He has not, he's playing like a player that plays regularly. And these are the kind of things you want to see from a player that's trying to rewrite his story. He had a bad start, and I think, the Nations Cup is a good, refresher for him, and we can see how dangerous he is. And I hope, bigger clubs look at him and probably give him the chance to do what he knows how to do best in terms of scoring the goals.
Let's look at the both teams. I mean, they started very strong in this Afcon. I'm talking about Senegal and Nigeria. I mean, looking at their very first game, where do you see them, at least, the worst case scenario in this particular championship, where do you see them ending?
I mean, the minimum requirement, the minimum they will get, probably be a quarterfinals, because if you look at the performance from the World Cup qualifiers, especially the two teams, they were very fantastic in their World Cup qualifiers, and that's an indication of the kind of intentions they have. And if you look at what they did in their opening game, the how they played shows that they have intentions. They have intentions for this particular tournament. They are not just coming to participate. They are coming to show class, and they are coming to give themselves a shouting chance at winning. So with this kind of performance, if they can sustain it, keyword on if they can sustain it, because I mean, anything can happen in football, but if they can sustain the same performance, I think the least I would expect from them is getting to the quarterfinals.
So let's now talk about the race for the Golden Boots itself. I mean, this guy is leading with 2 goals already. I recall the last AFCON, actually, Emilio Nsue, who actually got, the top scorer of that particular championship, scored 5 goals. And tell me, amongst all the strikers, Victor Osimhen, Riyad Mahrez, Mo Salah, Ademola Lookman, Omar Mamouche, and a host of others, Nicholas Jackson himself, who will you put your money on in this particular championship that, in the end, this guy is most likely going to be, the top scorer of this particular championship? Mo Salah has just got 1 goal now. Ademola Lookman 1. Victor Osimhen yet to register a goal in this particular championship. But then, of course, their quality, they have what it takes to actually deliver in big moments. And that's like what, a lot of persons will be hoping will count for them. But tell me, where will you put your money in the end for any of these guys who will pick the Golden Boots at the end of the day?
Well, let me first of all say, this particular tournament will not be like the last one. The last one, the highest was 5 goals.
Yeah.
This particular tournament, I think anybody that will win it will be looking at 7-8 goals. If you don't score 7-8 goals, you win the Golden Boot. They've scored over 29 goals. Earlier when I was talking, I said 16 goals. I meant 29 goals, over 29 goals. So with the kind of games we have seen, no games has failed to produce any goal. All games so far, they've produced goals, and what that means is that people are ready to bang in the goals. So those that are having two goals at the moment, we should be looking at them. But I think the eventual winner will probably be netting about 7-8 goals to probably take the title. It's going to be very, very competitive. And if our own Osimhen does not wake up, we might not be in the conversation for the Golden Boot. Even if we probably get to the finals, or even get wins. So far, with they are playing, I think a Nicholas Jackson, a Riyad Mahrez, even a Mohamed Salah, because he has a point to prove. Even Mohamed Salah, might have a shot. For Nigeria, my problem is if you can figure out our midfield and the supply is steady, probably maybe we can see, an Adema Lukman and an Osimhen in that particular, in that particular. But for now, I'm looking at Mo Salah, Nicholas Jackson, and probably even a Mahrez, having a big chance at winning that particular Golden Boot.
So, Maiwa, I mean, we've had, tons of huge, great strikers leading the lines for the Super Eagles going to Nations Cup. And every single time, we rely on our strikers to actually deliver the goals. And they've turned up in huge style. I mean, case in point, late Rashidi Yekini, he was the top scorer, in Tunisia. And other Super Eagles strikers, whenever they step into the ranks, like Ayegbeni, they don't fail to actually register a goal or two, in this championship. The record in 2013 winning championship side, MNK actually got 4 goals in that particular championship. I mean, what will this save, for Osimhen in history if he fails to actually register a goal or just manage to get just 1 goal again in this particular Afcon? I mean, is it going to actually be, a very good story for him if you go back to his history for the national team, particularly in major championship?
I think it will probably take away from his legendary, or from his legend. It probably take away from it. The last tournament, a defender playing as a striker got their highest goal in that particular tournament. And I will not blame Osimhen for that. A lot of people, yes, last tournament, I will raise up my hand. I throw a lot of stick at him. As a striker, you need to do your basic job and just one. However, the circumstances around how Nigeria played did not help his cause. A lot of people might say he should have played like an Adema Lukman, but they are not the same player. He doesn't have, the movement of Adema Lukman. So we don't expect him to be like Adema Lukman. And that's the reason why he only scored 1 goal. In this particular tournament, I think if you look at the first game, there were a whole lot of chances. If you had taken that chance, if it was the Osimhen, of the World Cup qualifier, probably would have scored 1 or 2 goals in that particular game. The chances were there. He had about 3 or 4 chances in that game, and he couldn't take it. What I'm happy about is that he's getting the service. So get the service just like he did against Tanzania. I'm 100% sure that Osimhen will net at least 3-4 goals before the end of this tournament. But the key is he has to start converting the chances, because I mean, if you are giving a lot of opportunity, if you are giving the ball like he was giving against Tanzania, you just have to bury it as a striker. So he needs to improve on that. Probably maybe that's the reason why there's a close session, maybe to work on his sharpness in front of goal. I think if the passes continue to come the way he did in the Tanzania game, I think Osimhen will probably be on the score sheet and probably score more than 1 goal in this particular tournament.
But in the end, if it fails to happen, and then we have an Ademola Lookman score more goals than, Victor Osimhen. We've seen strikers go, in this into a championship like this. The likes of Didier Drogba, at the end of the day, they don't end up winning it. Because for me, right, one of the things that's going to really cement, like you said, is going to really take a lot away from his legendary. If a striker goes into a particular championship and fails to actually hit, the number of goals, the chance of the team winning the particular championship is going to be very slim. Mayowa, that's exactly what the case is. And now Victor Osimhen, like you rightly also pointed out, that in the first game, he was quite wasteful. If it happens in the second game against Tunisia, a side that is definitely certain that the Super Eagles is going to be limited, to few number of chances, what happens to the Super Eagles at the end of the day? And Victor Osimhen himself.
Well, the thing is this. I think in big competitions, you have to show that you are unreplaceable in a team. What that means is this. And I'm not trying to throw Osimhen under the bus or anything. If Osimhen is given the opportunity in the second game and he continues to be wasteful and is not taking the chances, it's very simple. The coach should send him a message. When he was substituted in that game against Tanzania, he had a back and forth with the coach. I'm 100% sure he was not happy about that. So in the game against Tunisia, if he gets the service and he does not score, then you should take him out and bring in players that can score the goal. Because in as much as, we are trying to see if he's going to score, we are trying to see if he can deliver, because he's our top performing striker, he's our best performing striker in Europe, apart from Onachu. If he cannot do the job for the team at the moment, we take him out and bring in those that can do the job. There are other strikers on the bench who will be licking their lips at the opportunity to be able to represent Nigeria. And if they can deliver more than an Osimhen, then you take him out. So the bottom line is this: if he does not deliver, take him out. Let others who are part of the team, let's try them and see if they can deliver. That's just it.
Let's take out the story of the Afcon and, of course, everything concerning Super Eagles and head straight to, the EPL. December is a very, very difficult period for any team that's actually wants to win the league and any team that wants to escape relegation, because that's exactly how close and tight the fixtures in December usually can be. And, of course, former Manchester United player and legend Gary Neville has declared that Premier League title is a two-horse race and has definitely ruled out Aston Villa out of the contention despite their strong performance this season. Unai Emery's side sits just 3 points behind Mikel Arteta's men. Of course, after match day 17, Mayowa, do you really think this is a two-horse race as it stands right now in December? Tomorrow, the Boxing Day fixtures, eventually start, and then we're definitely going to see lots of fixtures till the end of the season. So tell me, let's start from here. Is Aston Villa not, a contender this season?
I think Guy Neville might be correct, and the reason for that is, and I want him to be wrong, because having multiple contenders for the league, at least till the tail end of the league, makes the league much more interesting, and overtake everybody and probably win. However, if you look at the antecedent and how Aston Villa has been, they do not have the squad depth. That is it. Take out the first 11 of Aston Villa, let some of their key players get injured. Who are the replacements that can do the job? They do not have that. And that is what Gary Neville is trying to speak to. Now, go to the top two teams, a Guardiola and an Arteta. A Guardiola is even looking at signing a Semedo, whereas there's a news that Oscar Bob wants to leave, and that's the reason why they want to bring a Semedo. That is, they are even trying to reinforce while the league is still going on. Look at Arsenal; they've been able to bring some players in. Yes, Arteta has his 40% of usage of players, but at least you can see that if some players are injured, he has other players to bring in. So that is the reason why I would tend to agree with a Gary Neville that if you look at it at the long run, in the next 22 games, the next 21 games that is left, I think the race is going to probably be between Arsenal and Man City, and the reason is they have a squad depth Aston Villa do not have. I think Aston Villa fades out, when the game starts getting to 27, 28. By that time, you start seeing injuries or player fatigue setting in, and you don't have, appropriate replacement to replace those players to be able to chase the time. So I want to agree with Gary Neville.
So let's talk about, Unai Emery's men a bit more. Looking at the table right now, they sit comfortably at the third position of the log. Mayowa, tell me, do you think, okay, let's rule them out of, winning the title, according to, Gary Neville. Or do you think they can actually make a very strong case for the top four finish?
Well, definitely. I will not be surprised if they end up finishing top four. And, what to the two-horse race is this. It's hypothetical. They can still play, and, they might play the remaining 21 games and not get injured. It might happen. It's a possibility. They might play the games, and player fatigue will come in, and they find a way to win their games. It's a possibility. So, but if you are looking at it based on the strength, you might want to say, okay, because of that, they are not in two horses, they are not in the race, and the rest of that. However, the way the league is, and the way the people under them are playing at the moment, I think I will not be surprised if an Aston Villa finish in the top four position, because even the teams under them, they are not consistent. The consistency level of the teams under them is not that it's not that perfect. There's a Liverpool that is just coming back out of the doldrums of defeat. You don't even know the Liverpool you will get. There is a Chelsea side that you don't know exactly what they are doing. Today they are hot, tomorrow they are cold. There's a Sunderland that's punching above their weight. So these are the teams that are directly below them, and the consistency of this team are not there yet. So I will not be surprised if at the end of the day we find an Aston Villa in the fourth position. They've been consistent in the Champions League so far, and I think they've made the case for themselves to be a regular in the Champions League. And it comes with a whole lot of revenue. So definitely they want to fight for the top four, at least top five now, based on the new rules. Top five now, and I think at the end of the season they should be one of the top five teams in England.
Of course, still talking about Gary Neville, who actually said that, or rather, he also said that Manchester City is the primary threat of Arsenal's titles aspiration, highlighting a combination of Pep Guardiola's tactical acumen and star forward Erling Braut Haaland's prowess on the field. I mean, we talked about Haaland's, hitting 25 goal mark, and if he does that, and Manchester City is able to actually keep a low profile when it comes to the number of goals conceded, they might actually just be running away, with the league title. With the way it seems right now, Haaland is just 6 goals away from hitting 25 Premier League goals this season. Do you really think Manchester City can actually take this title from Arsenal with the way Arsenal is structured at this point? Yes, they are actually recovering from injury, but they are managing to actually grind results, which is an hallmark of a very top team.
Well, I think the biggest threat to Arteta not winning the league is always a Man City side. And they have this scary attitude of going on a very long unbeaten run. And they started, in the last couple of games, they've not lost. I think the last game they
five
was one against, was one against Newcastle, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the last game they lost. And since then, they've been winning. They've been winning with Lakers. Even games that they struggle, they end up finding the winner very, very late. But if you look at the Arsenal side, yes, the hallmark of a team, of a top team, is even when you're not playing very well, you still grind out the win. But the question is this: can Arsenal sustain their unbeaten run just like a Man City will do? The answer is no. So for me, I think it's just a matter of time. Arsenal will sure draw a game while Man City takes over them. So I will not be surprised. My man is laughing. I will not be surprised, if Man City actually finally wins, because I mean they've built a reputation of grinding out consistent win for a very long time. The last time they did it, they went 19 games without losing one. Can Arsenal do that? I don't think so.
Well, really, for me, right, I'm looking at this Arsenal side and I'm having mixed feelings. The first is that this Arsenal side, has shown that, in the moment of despair, in the moments where key players are injured, they manage to actually get the result. Another way, I'm actually looking at this side, I'm looking at, I'm seeing a lot of weakness. Weakness in the sense that this Arsenal team, in the last 3 games, they've struggled to actually get, proper goals from open play. Either penalties, either set piece, and how long can they actually keep up with such style of play? All through the season, they've also been getting a lot of their goals from set piece. A lot of teams have been finding them out now. They're not as dangerous as they were, in the earlier part of the season. And as the season continues to improve, a lot of teams will find a way to actually stop them from, scoring goals from that particular route. Now, here's my problem with that particular team. I know they can be very difficult defensively. That's one very good strength they've got. But what exactly do you think Mikel Arteta should actually do to actually improve, Arsenal's chance of, maintaining the lead? Because that's exactly where the question comes. If they can actually maintain the lead, then we can actually talk about them winning the title.
Well, it's very simple. If you see how they are playing at the moment, there's a lot of fatigue. The way he uses players, it burns them out. And that is the reason. He needs to spread out the game. One thing Guardiola has been able to do over time is, is able to spread out games. And even some of the games, you can see players that he brings in, keeping the major key players that you need when it's very, very important, keeping them fresh. Arteta does not do that. So a whole lot of the key players get burnt out, and and that is the reason. Not every game that you should have a William Saliba playing. Not every game you should have a Gabriel playing. These are the things that Arteta needs to learn. You cannot be playing, a lower team on the spectrum, and you are feeding your top players. As time goes on, they get burnt out. And remember, they are in different competitions. They are not just in one. They are in about 3-4 competitions. And you are using the same players over and over again. Fatigue sets in, they get tired and they get burnt out. And that's the reason why the inconsistency starts showing. That's the reason why the drop in performance starts showing. If you look at Arsenal's last 4 games, it's not been fantastic. It has not been fantastic. The game against Chelsea, there was a red card. They couldn't take advantage. The next game, same thing. The game against Wolves, they almost drew that particular game before they finally won it. So the way Arteta is displaying the players is a big disadvantage to the depth of player he has. He needs to learn that from Guardiola. That has a way of spreading out players, of spreading out the use of his players, and that keeps the key players very fresh. Arteta is not doing that, and that's the reason why they struggling at the moment.
And of course, Gary Neville also predicted that Arsenal could extend their lead during the February and March, establishing the cushion ahead of the final stretch of the season. Although he also recognizes the unpredictability of the Premier League title, knowing that any team can actually come from anywhere, even if they're actually very close to the top 2 or the top 3 teams to actually usurp them. I think that's the right word to use here to actually nick the title. And of course, teams can actually fall below the pecking order and start struggling for relegation battle. But do you really think this is very feasible from Gary Neville, who is talking about Arsenal's chance of extending the league in February, March, when we know that February, March is usually the season, the part of the season alongside November, where Arsenal naturally will struggle to actually keep up the pace of the Premier League. I don't know what Gary Neville is seeing. Perhaps you are also seeing it, but just help us see what he's actually talking about.
Well, the question is this: can Arsenal even get to that particular period before the falter? Because they are struggling at the moment. Except maybe they come out tomorrow and they play differently. They are struggling at the moment. Even the game against Crystal Palace, they are struggling at the moment. They struggle to score goals. Set pieces have found them out. That means it has taken away the number of times they can actually score goals from set pieces, because teams are beginning to find them out. Look at the number of goals from set pieces. It has dropped drastically. And when the season started, set piece was one of the major contributors of their goals. But now it's not there. The team itself, they are struggling in terms of scoring goals itself. Goikarens and the rest of them, they are not producing goals in front of goals. In front of goals, and that's a big problem. Any team that is going to compete or win needs to start scoring goals. That is not the case with Man City. Man City is scoring goals with reckless abandon. The big question has always been, how long will Arsenal stay without them drawing or losing? I don't think they can sustain this momentum before they lose or they draw. Except maybe they come out tomorrow or during this festive period and something happens and I can see, okay, maybe there's a breath of fresh air. But based on the last 4 games they've played, they are struggling. I don't think they can keep up the momentum for a very long time before Man City overtakes them.
Marwa, give us a parting shot as we prepare, to actually face, the Carthage Eagles of Tunisia tomorrow. On Saturday,
it's very simple. Well, it's very simple. I want, our boys to go out there and do the magic. They have it in them to do it, and I'm hoping, Eric Chelle stop this EJ that is doing with the formation. Stick to a particular formation. Let's have an identity and let's go from there.
Thank you very much, Marwa, for being a part of the Christmas Day edition of The Locker Room. Hopefully, we'll definitely be here together to actually do the Boxing Day edition of the show. Thank you very much for joining us once again.
It's always amazing to be here. Thank you for having me, Kechuku.
Of course, this is exactly where we'll be drawing the curtain on today's episode of the show. And of course, yes, it's a good time to actually, go enjoy myself. I mean, Christmas is, one part of the year that every single person would definitely be looking up to us. And of course, it's the end of the year again. If you're a fan of politics, you just have to stick around because Chukwuma Okoro will be stepping into the studio to actually do justice, help us see what's happening in the world of politics. The show is Political Lens. And of course, Chukwuma Okoro will be the host. I'm Ikechukwu Agwago. Stay tuned.
VOP TV. Now, you have more than a voice. The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before. To know the happenings in the maritime sector, join us on the program Maritime Frontiers on VOP TV as we discuss key areas in the maritime sector from aquaculture, maritime transportation, maritime labor regulation, oil and gas exploration, ferry and passenger insurance, marine pollution and prevention, port operations, and lots more. Maritime Frontiers, exploring Nigeria's blue economy.
Welcome to the locker room, the home of football talk that matters. I am Jerry Appeon. Join us every weekday, Monday to Friday at 5 p.m. Nigerian time, as we share the hot takes and hot debates in the exciting world of football. And joining me are the usual suspects, Ikechukwu and Mayowa, as we break down all the hot takes and everything that's happening in the football. Don't just watch football, live it with us. Catch us on the locker room and Voice of the People television at 5 p.m. Nigerian time. And like I always say, if not 20 minutes off, please the sport.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOPTV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOPTV, Voice of the People Television.
Odumegwu Ojukwu, born November 4th, 1933 in Nigeria, died November 26, 2011 in London, England. The Nigerian military leader and politician who was head of the secessionist state of Biafra during the Nigerian Civil War. Ojukwu was the son of a successful